Okay, let's dive right into this MetLife Stadium matchup between the New York Giants and the New York Jets. We're looking at the 2026 preseason finale, and for this overview, we are completely stripping away the usual broadcast noise to deliver a premium, tactical preview of what we're actually going to see on the field. So we are looking at generic season previews here. We're focusing entirely on the tactical blueprint of this specific fixture. We'll be breaking down the expected shapes, the handling of defensive pressure, the established duels in the trenches, and the live game states that you absolutely need to monitor.
Now, the single most critical question heading into this matchup isn't about either team's regular season identity. Because it's the preseason finale, the central tactical question is identifying exactly which rotations, offensive line combinations, and depth units are actually taking the field. You see, the final injury designations, inactive lists, and specific quarterback snap allocations just haven't been locked in stone yet. What that means is our entire tactical read has to adapt to whoever crosses that white line at kickoff.
You might glance at the stats and see that both the Giants and the Jets are entering this game sitting at 1-1. The Giants had a 13-10 loss to Minnesota, which they followed up with a 26-3 win down in Miami. Meanwhile, the Jets took a 24-16 loss against Tampa before shutting out Pittsburgh 17-0. But listen closely. Those raw records? They are completely meaningless noise. They were achieved across entirely different opponent rotations. A simple win-loss record just doesn't provide an adequate sample for expected points added per play or overall success rate. The true test tonight is all about situational execution, protection communication, and ball security under live game conditions.
To break this all down, we're following a strict blueprint today. We'll start with a preseason reality check, move into quarterbacks versus defensive pressure, look at winning in the trenches, uncover the special teams' hidden yardage, give you some live in-game cues to watch for, and finally, deliver the final model verdict.
All right, Section 1, the preseason reality check. Let's separate the signal from the hype and look at the observable tactical data we've gathered from the first 2 weeks of August.
This quote brilliantly illustrates the reality of the Giants' offensive situation. The Giants need to block better. That's head coach John Harbaugh's direct reaction after quarterback Jackson Dart had to be evaluated following an early sack in Week 1 against the Vikings. Dart actually had a really efficient line, 3 for 4 for 26 yards and a 15-yard touchdown to Malachi Fields. But here's the thing. Evaluating a young quarterback's processing speed is literally impossible if the interior offensive line can't pass off games and identify simulated pressure. With center John Michael Schmitz having been in the concussion protocol earlier in camp and Brian Hudson taking substantial work, that interior protection is a massive caveat tonight. The Giants simply cannot treat their opening drive as a test of vertical downfield concepts until that line proves it can keep the quarterback out of obvious second and long situations. That is the baseline for everything else.
Moving on to Section 2, quarterbacks versus defensive pressure. It's all about surviving the rush today. So let's see how the quarterback battle on both sides hinges on exactly that. Because we don't have confirmed official snap allocations for this finale, we have to look at these conditional scenarios. It's not just Geno Smith versus Jackson Dart by decree. If Smith plays, his absolute top priority is identifying coverage pre-snap and using efficient answers against the blitz so he avoids exposing his previously sore ankle to free runners. If rookie Cade Klubnik starts for the Jets, well, we need to see him convert early down rhythm throws, much like his 5 for 7, 56-yard opener against Tampa Bay. Now for the Giants, if Dart is under center, he needs really fast identification of edge rushers. And if Jameis Winston gets the nod, he'll be looking to replicate that incredibly efficient 15 for 21, 150-yard first half he put on tape in Miami.
So, the crucial takeaway here is that flashy, single explosive plays, like a 21-yard contested catch by Garrett Wilson or a deep shot to Malachi Fields, those are great for the highlight reel, for sure, but they aren't the primary tactical indicator today. Methodical decision management under live pressure is what actually translates to regular season success. The quarterback who manages to avoid sacks, prevent pressured turnovers, and retain positive early down outcomes, that's the guy who gives his unit a massive, sustainable edge tonight.
Okay, Section 3, winning in the trenches. This is absolutely the most important unit battle on the field today, and it's going to dictate the flow of the entire game.
When you tune into the broadcast, I want you to ignore the total rushing yards for a minute. Seriously, put them out of your mind. Focus completely on early down success rate. A random 5-yard run against a light box really doesn't tell us much, but repeatedly gaining the necessary yardage on first and second down against loaded boxes with clean second-level fits, now that is the strongest tactical evidence of true dominance.
This table breaks down the 3 specific, isolated duels you need to be watching. First up,
Look at Jets edge rusher Will McDonald IV, who logged a 7-yard sack on Tampa Bay's opening possession. If he forces the Giants to use 7-man protection just to survive, New York has to sacrifice receiving options, which makes third down coverage way easier for the Jets secondary. Next, keep an eye on Jets running back Braylon Allen. He had a beautiful 31-yard touchdown in Week 1, but today he has to avoid interior disruption from the Giants' Darius Alexander, who grabbed a sack in Week 1, and Chancey Goldston, who had 2 quarterback hits. Finally, watch the Giants' rushing depth. Devin Singletary was highly efficient with 8 carries for 40 yards and a touchdown in Miami, but Tyrone Tracy Jr. fumbled. Ball security against this Jets tackling structure is an immediate roster evaluation pressure point.
Moving right along to Section 4, Special Teams Hidden Yardage. This is the hidden X factor that drastically swings the incredibly volatile outcomes of preseason games.
You can never, ever underestimate the kicking game in a finale. When you have primary starters giving way to second and third string depth units in the second half, the game naturally becomes pretty chaotic. In this specific environment, field position completely dictates the scoring script. A single muffed punt, a bad return penalty, or a short kick can instantly erase an entire quarter of modest offensive efficiency.
You're going to want to watch these specific players very closely. For the Giants, punter Jordan Stout downed 3 punts inside the 20 against Minnesota and booted a 60-yard long. They also have a very live kicking competition between Ben Sauls, who hit a 46-yarder, and Dominic Zvada. On the other side, the Jets have established legs in Cade York and Jason Sanders, but really keep your eyes glued to Junior Bergen. He flashed a 27-yard punt return against Pittsburgh. If Bergen consistently sets the Jets' offense up near midfield today, you have to immediately downgrade the Giants' defensive projection for those drives.
All right, Section 5, live in-game cues. Let's give you the literal blueprint on how to watch this like a pro and process the live broadcast.
When you are watching the first 30 minutes, follow this exact timeline. Right at kickoff, don't just follow the football. Immediately identify the starting 5 offensive linemen and log the active quarterbacks. As we get into the first quarter, evaluate that early down efficiency we just talked about. Defensively, look to see if tackles are cleanly ending gains before the first down markers. And as we push through the first half, actively try to distinguish between a methodical 10-play drive led by starters versus a chaotic scoring drive that only happened because some depth unit player threw a bad interception. As the game flows through these 3 specific states, context is literally everything. Say the Jets take an early lead. Verify the cause. Is it built on sustainable, clean pockets that are allowing Smith or Klubnik to stay ahead of the chains, or was it just one lucky breakaway run from Braylon Allen? If the Giants take the early lead, look for repeatable pocket integrity and timing throws from Winston or Dart, because if they are just marching down the field on defensive penalties, that lead is incredibly fragile. And, if we hit a tied 0-0 game state deep in the fourth quarter, personnel quality is paramount. The offense that successfully avoids third and long with their backup unit has the far cleaner path to a final game-winning drive. And finally, Section 6, the final model verdict. Let's dive into the statistical projections and see how the model actually digests all of this tactical evidence.
The model estimate projects a total of 37 points for this matchup. Now, this specific number assumes mixed quarterback rotations, ordinary preseason field position, and no confirmed dominant mismatch pre-kick. That number would push lower if both defensive fronts are repeatedly creating early down disruption, and it pushes higher if the primary offenses end up receiving unusually long workloads or special teams create incredibly short fields.
Because of the incredibly wide variance we see in preseason finales, the model factors in a 6% probability that this close matchup actually pushes into overtime. Now, this isn't a claim that overtime is likely, but rather it's a reflection of the wide, close game distribution under preseason rules that leaves a modest chance of regulation parity.
Looking at the projected outcomes, the model yields a Giants 20, Jets 17 estimate. That gives New York's blue side a razor-thin 51% win probability, the Jets 47%, and a 2% chance of a final tie. The Giants receive a very slight edge here, solely based on their stronger, confirmed first-half showing in Week 2, combined with the fact that MetLife is a shared stadium. That heavily reduces any traditional home field advantage the Jets might normally possess.
However, we have to talk about the limitations of these sports analytics estimates. This is absolutely vital. These are model projections based on limited preseason tape. They are not guaranteed outcomes, and they are certainly not betting advice. Geno Smith's exact workload remains completely unconfirmed. Total points are entirely dependent on how long Jameis Winston and Jackson Dart actually stay on the field. The analytical stance here is clear. Any late official roster announcements or inactive lists immediately supersede these pregame estimates. For example, if the Jets announce their starting offensive line is intact and playing the whole first half, this entire projection instantly shifts closer to even.
Ultimately, while we've analyzed the tactical schemes, the expected point totals, and the starter rotations, the true drama of tonight's game lies right here. It's the final week of August. You're literally watching players fight for their professional lives. Which unknown bubble player is going to step up, capitalize on a broken play, secure a crucial tackle before the sticks, or recover a hidden yardage fumble to secure their NFL dream tonight? Keep your eyes on the trenches, watch those live cues, and enjoy the tactical chess match.